You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
All right, Jimmy Ott and Paul Stone, it is bowl season as we continue and try to go through all of this information, see who's playing, see who isn't, opt-out transfers, declared eligibility for the draft, coaches moving, coaches staying, the whole bit. It's a lot, so we try and help you out. Let's look on the December 26th to December 27th bowl games, Paul, and let's start off with the GameAbove Sports Bowl and the Pitt Panthers, and whether you start with them right at the top and their talented young quarterback, Eli Holstein, trying to get accurate information on him. They're still not sure, but Pitt 7-51 over Toledo, both teams 7-5. Pitt started 7-0 and then lost their last 5 games of the season. And not just Holstein has been a major factor in that second half slide in his injuries, but the whole team. The team really did get banged up. Narduzzi's been really frustrated. They're getting a lot of those guys back for this bowl game. Now, it's hard for me to dive in the deep end if Holstein's not going to play, so we'll continue to monitor that. But if he's playing with all of the other players that are coming back, plus Toledo's been a fade team for me this year. Toledo's just not quite the team that they usually are. I mean, losing to teams like Akron and going to the wire in Eastern Michigan, that's just not your typical Toledo team. They're usually much stronger. So the branding is still giving you some honest numbers. But I like Pitt in this one. Keep in mind, though, if Holstein doesn't play, the backup's already left. And so that would be tough. But if he's playing, I really like the Pitt Panthers here, minus the points, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a great point for the audience. You know, we have to obviously record, a couple of days in advance typically, and it's important to monitor the status of some of these players who may not be in the game due to opt-out factors to prepare for the NFL draft, or in Holstein's case, injury issues. Pitt head coach Pat Narduzzi has indicated he's hopeful that Holstein will play. My gut feeling is he's probably going to go, but that's just a gut feeling. And as you indicated, Nate Yarnell, the backup this year, has transferred to Texas State, so he's not available for this game. And like you, I also agree, Toledo, they've kind of been in that upper 2 or 3 teams of the MAC in recent years, and they're just not quite as good, not quite as talented throughout their rosters. So I see where you're coming from there, especially if Holstein's available for the Pitt Panthers.
Earn a chance at $10,000 in bonus credits with the Bet Rivers Prop Packs. Place NBA same-game parlays to collect player card prop packs and earn rewards. You win based on how your player performs. Log into betrivers.com or the Bet Rivers app to get to place your bet and get your pack. Let's move on. Another one that I like, and boy, I like this quarterback tight end combination. Bowling Green. Boy, it wasn't talking about the MAC. It wasn't long ago that Bowling Green was, at the bottom. It was Akron and Bowling Green playing where somebody's got to win bowl. But, man, they have really turned it around. They're in the Veterans Bowl, and Bowling Green is 7.5, 52 over Arkansas State. We looked at Arkansas State back in the summer previews and said we like them. Their win total did go over, and you were on their side kind of late in the season. Won a couple of games that cash tickets. But I love the quarterback tight end combination in Bazelak and Harold Fannin Jr. Fannin Jr. Reminds me of maybe an Antonio Gates, man, coming out of that position at that league. He is a weapon, and then some. He's playing. Bazelak is playing. They're all in. Keep in mind, I like these teams that have struggled, these programs that have struggled. Now all of a sudden, because the excitement level of playing in a bowl game, trying to gauge motivation, level of excitement. Do these teams want to be there? Bowling Green wants to be there, and I think their best players are an indicator of that. I like Bowling Green here, minus the 7.5 ball.
Yes, Bowling Green, they served notice in the month of September. They played Penn State and Texas A&M into the fourth quarter in back-to-back games, and they were in both those games and could have won both those games on the road. So the Falcons showed that they were not your dad's Falcons, so to speak. They were a good football team, and I kind of based on those performances against such top level, top 20 type teams, I really felt like they might win the MAC. So they maybe slightly disappointed me there, but like you mentioned, Harold Fannin Jr., 100 catches, 1,342 yards, and 9 touchdowns, a finalist for the John Mackey award symbolic of the nation's finest tight end. A lot of people felt like he should have won that, and certainly his numbers exceeded, those of any of the other candidates, but he was a finalist for that award. And be interesting to see. Arkansas State, Butch Jones has done a pretty good job there in Jonesboro, so will be an interesting matchup here between Bowling Green of the MAC and Arkansas State of the Sun Belt.
It's not your older brother's Falcons. This is, they have really turned it around. So, Bowling Green, I love the fact that those two guys are playing in that game, minus the 7.5. Players can play same game parlays on college football and NFL games to earn squares. Our exclusive squares game offers additional chances at profit boosts, bonus bets, and many $10,000 jackpots. Visit BetRivers.com or the BetRivers app for more details. All right, the military teams have been very, very profitable over the years in the bowl games. There's even more so in the opt-out sort of era of the bowl games. They don't have any opt-outs in the military teams, Army, Navy, Air Force. It doesn't happen. The Armed Forces Bowl, the Oklahoma Sooners are 43.5 right now at BetRivers. A lot of times I will give almost blindly back the military teams in these bowl games, and they have really, some of these alternate lines really pop as well. I remember when the Army beat Houston like a drum, and they were catching points in that game. Paul, the significant line movement on this game as well. This line was 9.5 at one point. I actually have a little bit on that. And remember, we did that was one of our picks that maybe be drifting, when we said maybe some lines moved. And some lines worked in our favor and some didn't, but this one really did. But at 3 right now, you still like the Navy midshipmen here.
Yeah, certainly the number is concerning because usually, these service academies are going to be getting more than a touchdown against a Power 4 historic program like Oklahoma. But, you indicated, and college football fans who follow the sport closely will not be surprised to know that the service academies have fared very well in bowl games against the spread and outright through the years. I look back beginning in 2001. So in the previous 23 seasons, looking at the 3 military academies, those being Navy, Army, and Air Force, they are collective 23-10 against the spread in the last 23 seasons in bowl games. Navy's part of that, 10-4 against the spread. So Navy's been very good in bowl games. Their quarterback, Blake Harveth, was hurt, banged up much of the season, especially the latter part of the season, but he sure looked healthy against Army in Navy's decisive 31-13 victory over the Cadets a couple of weeks back. Carried the ball 25 times for 204 yards, a couple of touchdowns, also passed for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he appears to be healthy. The Sooners, they've lost, they have about a dozen players in the portal, about a dozen players, and half a dozen of those being starters. So Oklahoma's going to be somewhat affected by the transfer portal. Navy's got that gimmicky offense, a lot of eye candy. They're not accustomed to facing it. I still think Navy could win this game outright. I like the midshipmen +3 over Oklahoma.
Yeah, and when we talked about that one, that's why I thought in Horvath coming back, and we talked about when he was out, got knocked out in the first quarter against Tulane, and he sat out the East Carolina game. They went 6 straight quarters without scoring a point, and that was different. I mean, you could see early on they took that opening drive and went right down the field in that Army-Navy game. All right, let's move on to the Birmingham Bowl. We got a double barrel pick here, both of us on the same side in this one. Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets 3 and 51.5 over the Vanderbilt Commodores. This line has been teetering between 2.5 and 3. It's currently 3 at BetRivers. Limited opt-outs for both of these teams. And, well, the Georgia Tech highlight had to be actually in a loss, where Haynes King was so good against Georgia on that Friday after Thanksgiving, that Black Friday primetime game. They had the Bulldogs on the ropes and would have ended their, would have put them in a tough spot right there. Vanderbilt, it's the Diego Pop. He wins again. He's winning on the field. He's winning in the courtrooms. He's covering the spreads for everybody. Pavia mania, yes, indeed. And that's where we're going in this one, man. You don't think that, hey, the Vanderbilt Commodores get excited when they go to a bowl game? You betcha. So that's why I limited opt-outs here. I respect the job that Georgia Tech has done. Man, I gave that team no chance in that coach. And it was the current coach right now who came in an interim basis and won that job permanently, winning outright in a couple of games. There were 3 touchdown underdogs, and man, it cost me my win total against them that year. But and I like what they do. I love Haynes King. I think he's a dual threat quarterback. Maybe not the most beautiful runner, but he's effective, baby, and he could play for me any day. But I like Pavia. I like the aspect that Vandy is fired up to be in a bowl game. I'm all on the Commodores here with you.
Yeah, I'm like you, just kind of echoing your sentiments on both these teams, Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech, and both their quarterbacks. I mean, Diego Pavia, I mean, he's a bulldog, a tough guy, a fighter. And Haynes King, he's from down the road from where I live in East Texas, Longview, Texas, a football-rich school. He was actually coached by his dad, John King, at Longview High School. So he's the son of a high school football coach, and he's a tough guy. He might not, I shouldn't say he might not look it because he's a pretty big guy, but he's a physical runner, tough runner, will take a hit, and I think his team rallies around him, as do the Commodores around Diego Pavia. But I'll kind of, in the spirit of full disclosure, Vanderbilt, in my opinion, down the stretch of the regular season, they kind of ran out of gas after beating Alabama, taking Texas into the fourth quarter, having an opportunity to win that game in Nashville as well. They lost their final 3 regular season games. Those losses did come to the likes of South Carolina, LSU, and Tennessee, so not bad folks to be losing to. But I think a month off, I think it's really going to be beneficial to the Commodores, not only their mental health, but their physical health, specifically Diego Pavia. I think he was a little bit banged up late in the year. Some games he seemed very hesitant to run. So I think that's going to help them from an offensive standpoint. Georgia Tech, they finished the season with 3 hard-fought, one-possession, one-score games that included a 28-23 upset of then fourth-ranked Miami of Florida. And then you mentioned the epic and emotional 8-overtime, 44-42 loss to arch rival Georgia in their regular season finale. So it comes down to which of these teams is going to have the most gas left in their collective emotional tank. And I think it's going to be Vanderbilt. Like you indicated, they don't get to a bowl game every year. They don't get to a bowl game many years in the last, decade or so. So I think they're going to be more inspired about this game. Like you indicated, not a whole lot of portal attrition on either side, but Georgia Tech will likely be, or will be, I think, without their wide receiver, Eric Singleton, 56 catches, 754 yards, 3 touchdowns. One of the most sought-after transfers in the portal this season. He is committed, I believe, this morning. It's pretty official that he's going to Auburn. But Singleton's out, not going to play for Georgia Tech. Their left tackle, Corey Robinson, out, and also linebacker Romello Height. So I think the losses will be a little more significant on Georgia Tech's side. So I'm going to take the SEC over the ACC. Give me Vanderbilt plus the small points over Georgia Tech.
Oh, I think you're spot on. I agree with you that Vanderbilt with their roster got a little bit fatigued and worn down, and Pavia is a personification of that. I mean, he just runs so tough, and he's not a big guy, and he started to kind of just the wear and tear on this season. I mean, middle of the season, they're playing Texas, Alabama, Tennessee, LSU. I mean, it is, there's no breaks for them in their schedule. They will benefit from kind of recharging their batteries, kind of getting at some of those nicks and some of the wear and tear, and just get back and get more at full strength. And both of these quarterbacks, just tough guys. They run behind their pads. They're not sliding. That's no doubt about that. So I'm with you 100%. We actually talked about that during the season as it was going that way, as on my talk show, that Vanderbilt was kind of just kind of wearing down a little bit over the course of the season. The recharging their batteries, I think, will benefit them greatly in the Birmingham Bowl against the Yellow Jackets. Take the 3. That's a double pick by Paul and myself. Let's go into Liberty Bowl. And Liberty Bowl, isn't it nice that one of the bowls maintains its name over the years? So Liberty Bowl is Liberty Bowl. It's in Memphis, Tennessee. Arkansas, a short trip from Fayetteville, Arkansas. 1.5, 53.5 over Texas Tech. Numerous opt-outs for the Arkansas Razorbacks in this one. They're also down to 6 scholarship offensive linemen for this one. You're looking at the Red Raiders coming into this one at plus 1.5, Paul.
Yeah, I think Arkansas and maybe Washington State as well, they have been just their rosters have been decimated since the end of the regular season in this first portal window. Arkansas, by my last count, they have 27 players currently in the portal, have a handful of opt-outs, players going to the NFL draft in addition to those players in the portal. So they're going to be especially thin on offense. They're going to be without 3 offensive linemen who are in the portal. Tight end Luke Haas was in the portal. He's committed to Ole Miss. Their top 2 wide receivers, which includes Andrew Armstrong, who had 1,140 yards receiving this year on 78 catches. Top 2 receivers out. Their top 2 running backs, including Jaquindon Jackson, won't play. So they are, they're thin. And not only, again, some players, but their best players not going to be playing in this game. Their defensive tackle, Eric Gregory, he's also not going to play. He's started 44 games at the collegiate level. So that's a big-time loss there. And then one of their pretty good linebackers, Brad Spence, he got in the portal. He's going to the University of Texas. So they just have players all over the place that will not be with the Razorbacks and Sam Pittman in this bowl game in Memphis. Texas Tech, on the other hand, their portal loss is not nearly as significant. Their most impactful loss, and it's a big one, will be quarterback Bayron Morton. He had shoulder injury after the end of the surgery, actually, after the end of the regular season. He will not play against Arkansas. His replacement will be true freshman Will Hammond. And like a lot of backup quarterbacks, he's really popular in Lubbock. They really like Will Hammond. He's a guy, his senior year in high school at Hutto High School outside of Austin, he threw for over 3,900 yards as a high school senior, led the entire state of Texas in passing yardage. This year, he's appeared in most of their games. He's completed 15 to 23 passes for 191 yards. He can also run the ball a little bit. But even though he's not that experienced, I think there's a lot of optimism and a lot of expectation that he'll play well against Arkansas in the bowl game. Another big plus potentially for Texas Tech is the fact that their running back, Taj Brooks, big guy, bullish runner, rushed for over 1,500 yards this year. He has indicated that there's no indications, I should say, that he's not going to play. And furthermore, Texas Tech released a depth chart a couple of days ago that showed him as the starting running back. So you hope that's forthright information. It would seem to indicate he's going to play in the bowl game, which is a huge plus for the Red Raiders, especially starting a true freshman quarterback. This is one of my favorite plays in the entire bowl season, even with unproven Will Hammond at quarterback. I like Texas Tech plus 1.5 over Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl.
Damn, Paul, after listening to you and your explanation, I'm sold too. It's one of my favorite ones now too. I mean, it's a lot of justification for our side on this one. And boy, it's kind of might be that seat might be getting hot in Fayetteville for next season for Sam Pittman. It doesn't happen often in the SEC where no coaches are fired after 1 year. That might not be that's not going to be the case often there. But no, a lot of good reasons to back the Red Raiders there. We'll continue to look at bowls throughout the bowl season and the college football playoff right here on the Sports Bettor's Paradise. For Paul Stone, I'm Jimmy Ott on the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.